Let me tell you something. You don't need everybody in your life. Not everyone who walks into your world is meant to stay. And that's hard for most people to accept because we've been taught to hold on, to please, to keep everyone happy. But at what cost? Your peace, your focus, your future? Now think about this. How many times have you felt drained just by being around certain people? How many times have you stayed quiet just to avoid conflict? How many times have you said yes when everything inside you was saying no? You see, that's the price of trying to keep everyone, and it's too expensive. Listen carefully. Your life is not meant to be crowded. It's meant to be purposeful. Every person in your life either adds to your growth or takes away from it. There is no neutral. Now here's the truth most people avoid. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not your time, not your energy, not your attention. And learning that is a turning point because success is not just about what you do. It's about what you allow, who you allow, what you tolerate, what you accept. Now, let me give it to you straight. You don't need a large circle. You need the right circle. People who challenge you, people who respect you, people who push you forward, not people who hold you back, not people who drain your energy, not people who distract you from your purpose. Because here's what happens. When you try to keep everyone, you lose yourself. You start adjusting. You start compromising. You start shrinking just to fit into spaces you've outgrown. And that's dangerous because success requires growth, and growth requires space. Space to think, space to focus, space to become who you're meant to be. So today, we start a different conversation. A conversation about boundaries, a conversation about standards, a conversation about choosing yourself. Because the moment you realize, I don't need everybody in my life, is the moment you take your power back. Let me tell you something. Not everyone in your life is meant to stay, but most people don't believe that. They try to hold on. They try to keep everyone close. They try to make every relationship work. Why? Because of one powerful force, the need for approval. You see, from a very young age, you were taught to be liked, to fit in, to be accepted, to avoid rejection. And slowly, you built a habit of adjusting yourself to keep others comfortable. Now listen carefully. That habit follows you into adulthood. You start saying yes when you want to say no. You stay in conversations that drain you. You keep people around who no longer align with you, all because you don't want to disappoint anyone. You don't want to be misunderstood. You don't want to be alone. And that fear is powerful because loneliness feels uncomfortable. Silence feels unfamiliar. So instead of choosing solitude, you choose company, even if it's the wrong company. Now think about this. Is being surrounded by the wrong people really better than being alone? Is constant noise better than peaceful silence? Is approval from others worth losing yourself? These are hard questions, but they matter. Now here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to go with you to the next level of your life. Some people are seasonal. Some people are temporary. Some people are simply part of your past. And that's not a bad thing. That's life. But most people resist this idea. They hold on too long. They try to fix relationships that are no longer meant to work. They invest energy where there is no return. Why? Because they believe in the illusion that everyone must stay, that every connection must last, that letting go means failure. But listen carefully. Letting go is not failure. It's wisdom. It's understanding that growth requires change. And change sometimes means separation. Now let's go deeper. Another reason you try to keep everyone is identity. You define yourself by the people around you, your friends, your circle, your environment. So when people leave or when you outgrow them, it feels like you're losing a part of yourself. But here's the truth. You're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself, because who you truly are is not dependent on who stays. It's defined by what you stand for. Now listen, you cannot grow if you're constantly trying to hold everything together. Growth requires movement, and movement requires letting go. Letting go of old habits, letting go of old thinking, and yes, letting go of certain people. Now that doesn't mean you become cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you become intentional. You choose who you allow into your life. You choose what you tolerate. You choose what aligns with your future, because your life is too valuable to be filled with the wrong people. Now think about this. If you try to keep everyone, you will end up losing yourself. But if you choose yourself, you will attract the right people. That's the shift. From chasing approval to creating alignment, from needing everyone to needing the right ones. You were never meant to carry everyone. You were never meant to please everyone. You were never meant to keep everyone. That's an illusion. And the sooner you break it, the freer you become. Because the moment you realize, I don't need everybody in my life, is the moment you start living with clarity, with purpose, with power. And that is where real growth begins. Let me tell you something. The wrong people don't just waste your time. They cost you your life. Not all at once. Not in a dramatic way, but slowly, quietly, day by day. Now listen carefully. Every person in your life is either an investment or an expense. They either add energy or they drain it. They either lift you up or they pull you down. There is no middle ground. Now, most people don't pay attention to this. They think it's just a friend. It's just a conversation. It doesn't matter that much, but it does. Because small influences create big outcomes. Now think about this. Who you spend time with shapes how you think. How you think shapes how you act. And how you act shapes your life. So if you're surrounded by negativity, what happens? You start thinking small. You start doubting yourself. You start losing focus. Not because you're weak, but because you're influenced. Now here's the dangerous part. It's not always obvious. The wrong people don't always look wrong. Sometimes they smile. Sometimes they agree. Sometimes they stay close. But underneath, they drain your energy. They complain. They criticize. They distract. And slowly, you start to feel it. Less motivated, less focused, less driven. That's the cost. Now let's go deeper. Energy is everything. Your focus, your drive, your ambition, they all depend on your energy. And when you give your energy to the wrong people, you have less for your goals, less for your growth, less for your future. So even if you're working hard, you're still losing because your environment is working against you. Now listen, you cannot build a strong life in a weak environment. It doesn't work. You cannot stay positive around constant negativity. You cannot stay focused around constant distraction. You cannot grow around people who refuse to grow. It's impossible. Now, most people ignore this. They think they're strong enough to resist the influence, but influence is subtle. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And over time, those whispers become beliefs. Now think about this. If you're constantly around people who complain, you start to complain. If you're constantly around people who make excuses, you start to justify your own. If you're constantly around people who settle, you start to accept less. That's how it works. Not overnight, but eventually. Now here's the truth. The wrong people don't just slow you down. They change your direction. They move you away from who you're meant to become. And that's a heavy price. Now let me ask you something. How much is your future worth? Your goals, your dreams, your potential. Is it worth sacrificing just to keep certain people comfortable? Is it worth holding on to relationships that hold you back? Because every time you say yes to the wrong people, you're saying no to your growth. Now listen carefully. This is not about blaming others. It's about taking responsibility. You choose who you allow. You choose who you listen to. You choose who you spend your time with. And those choices shape your life. Now here's the shift. Instead of asking, how do I keep everyone? Ask, who is helping me grow? Who challenges you? Who supports you? Who pushes you forward? Because those are the people you need. Now let me give it to you straight. Keeping the wrong people is expensive. It costs you time. It costs you energy. It costs you opportunities. And the longer you hold on, the more you lose. So be aware. Be intentional. Be selective. Because your circle is not just a group of people. It's an environment. And that environment is either building your future or breaking it. Choose wisely. Let me tell you something. There will be seasons in your life where you have to walk alone. No applause. No support. No one who truly understands what you're doing. Just you and your decision to grow. Now listen carefully. Most people are afraid of this part. Not failure. Not hard work. But being alone. Because being alone forces you to face yourself. Your thoughts. Your doubts. Your fears. And that can be uncomfortable. So what do most people do? They avoid it. They stay busy. They stay surrounded. They stay distracted. Even if the company is not right. Now here's the truth. Growth requires separation. You cannot become something new while holding on to everything old. It doesn't work. If you want a different life, you must be willing to step into a different space. And sometimes that space is quiet, very quiet. Now don't misunderstand this. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is emptiness, but solitude is power. It's where you think clearly. It's where you understand yourself. It's where you rebuild. Because when the noise disappears, you finally hear your own voice. And that voice matters. Now think about this. If you're always surrounded by others, how do you know what you truly want? If you're always influenced, how do you know what you truly believe? If you're always adjusting, how do you know who you truly are? You don't. That's why separation is necessary. It gives you clarity. Clarity about your goals. Clarity about your values. Clarity about your direction. Now here's the hard part. Not everyone will understand your separation. Some people will question you. Some people will misunderstand you. Some people may even distance themselves. And that's okay, because you are not separating out of ego. You are separating for growth. You are creating space to become better. Now listen, you don't need a crowd to succeed. You need focus, and focus requires fewer distractions, fewer voices, fewer opinions, fewer interruptions. Because every time you divide your attention, you weaken your progress. But when you focus, you accelerate it. Now let's go deeper. In those moments of solitude, you build strength, mental strength. You learn discipline. You develop habits. You create consistency without needing validation, without needing approval. Just you doing the work. And that builds something powerful. Self-reliance. Because when you learn to stand alone, you become unshakable. Now imagine this. A person who needs constant support compared to someone who can move forward alone. Who is stronger? Who is more consistent? Who is more dangerous to their goals? It's clear. The one who can walk alone without losing direction. Now here's the truth. You are not meant to stay alone forever, but you must be willing to go through that season, because that season prepares you, it shapes you, it strengthens you. And when the right people enter your life, you meet them as a stronger version of yourself, not dependent, not uncertain, but clear, focused, grounded. Now let me leave you with this. If you find yourself alone right now, don't panic. Don't rush to fill the space. Don't lower your standards just to avoid the silence. Use it. Use it to grow. Use it to think. Use it to become. Because success often requires separation. And those who are willing to walk alone for a while are the ones who eventually lead the way. So embrace it. Stand strong in it. And trust that this season of solitude is not a setback. It's preparation. Let me tell you something. Access is a privilege, not a right. And yet, most people treat it like it's free. They give everyone access to their time, to their energy, to their attention, without thinking, without boundaries, without standards. Now listen carefully. Every time you give someone access, you are giving them influence. Influence over your thoughts, influence over your mood, influence over your direction. And not everyone should have that kind of power. Now think about this. You protect your money. You protect your belongings. But do you protect your energy? Do you protect your focus? Do you protect your peace? Because those things are far more valuable. Now here's the truth. The more accessible you are, the less valuable your time becomes. If everyone can reach you anytime, if everyone can interrupt your focus, if everyone can demand your attention, you lose control. You lose clarity. You lose direction. And slowly, you lose yourself. Now, most people struggle with this. Why? Because they don't want to seem rude. They don't want to disappoint others. They don't want to say no. So they say yes, even when it costs them. They stay available, even when it drains them. They keep the door open, even when they should close it. Now listen, saying no is not rejection. It's protection. Protection of your time, protection of your energy, protection of your future. And if you don't protect those things, no one else will. Now let's go deeper. Not everyone deserves access to you, because not everyone respects your direction. Some people bring distraction. Some people bring negativity. Some people bring chaos. And if you allow that into your life, you invite confusion. You invite delay. You invite stress. Now here's something important. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They don't block everyone. They simply allow the right ones in and keep the wrong ones out. And that's what you need. Not isolation, but intention. Now think about this. If you let everyone into your space, how do you stay focused? If you listen to every opinion, how do you stay clear? If you respond to every demand, how do you stay in control? You can't. That's why boundaries matter. Now here's the shift. Instead of asking, how do I keep everyone happy? Ask, is this helping me grow? Is this person adding value? Is this interaction moving me forward? Is this worth my energy? Because your energy is limited. Your time is limited. And where you invest them determines your life. Now listen carefully. High-value people protect their access. They don't explain it to everyone. They don't apologize for it. They simply decide what aligns and what doesn't, and they act accordingly. Now that doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become clear. Clear about your priorities. Clear about your direction. Clear about your standards. And when you're clear, your life becomes simpler. Less noise, less distraction, less confusion, more focus, more growth, more progress. You don't need to be available to everyone to be valuable. In fact, the more selective you are, the more powerful your life becomes. So protect your access. Guard your energy. Choose wisely who gets a seat in your life, because not everyone deserves it. And the moment you understand that is the moment you take control. Let me tell you something. It's not just about removing the wrong people. It's about choosing the right ones. Because success is not a solo journey forever. Yes, there are seasons of solitude. Yes, there are moments you must walk alone. But eventually, you build a circle. And that circle will either elevate you or limit you. Now listen carefully. The people around you shape your standards. They shape how you think. They shape what you believe is possible. They shape what you accept as normal. So if you surround yourself with people who think small, you will think small. If you surround yourself with people who settle, you will settle. But if you surround yourself with people who grow, who push, who strive for more, you begin to rise. That's the power of the right circle. Now think about this. You don't need many people. You need the right people. People who challenge you. People who tell you the truth. People who hold you accountable. Not people who always agree. Not people who keep you comfortable. Not people who let you stay the same. Because comfort is the enemy of growth. Now here's the truth. Real growth requires friction. It requires being challenged. It requires being pushed. It requires hearing what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. And the right people do that. They don't tear you down. They build you up while pushing you forward. Now listen, you must become intentional. You don't wait for the right circle. You build it. You choose it. You create it through your standards, through your actions, through your mindset, because like attracts like. When you grow, you attract growth. When you become disciplined, you attract disciplined people. When you raise your standards, you attract those who live at that level. Now let's go deeper. The right circle respects your time. They respect your goals. They respect your boundaries. They don't distract you. They align with you. And that alignment creates momentum, because now you're not fighting your environment. You're supported by it. Now imagine this. You wake up every day surrounded by people who push you, who expect more from you, who believe in your potential, who remind you of your purpose. What happens? You rise naturally, consistently, powerfully, because your environment is working for you, not against you. Now here's something important. Building the right circle takes time. It takes patience. It takes discernment. It takes courage, because you will have to say no to the wrong ones. You will have to walk away from what no longer fits. And that's not easy, but it's necessary. Now let me give you something simple. A strong life is built with strong connections. Not many, but meaningful. Not loud, but aligned. Not temporary, but purposeful. Now, here's the final truth. You don't need everybody in your life. You need people who make you better, who sharpen you, who challenge you, who elevate you. Because when you have that, everything changes. Your mindset improves. Your actions improve. Your results improve. So choose wisely, build intentionally, and surround yourself with people who help you become who you're meant to be. Let me leave you with this. You don't need everybody in your life. You need clarity. You need focus. You need the right people. Choose wisely. Protect your energy. And never be afraid to walk alone until you find those who truly align. Because the moment you choose yourself, your life begins to change.